I'm Dr. Lisa Palmer. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Dr. Mama Bear coming to you live from Central Florida on quantum nutrition testing. So it is a technique I developed while my father was in the hospital, and it's something that we do all the time now. It's something that we do with patients. It's something that we do to help humans, typically humans, adults, elderly, babies, kids of all ages. And what's really cool is that I'm having an awesome time teaching practitioners this work. So, coming this Friday and this Saturday, we are going to have our next level 1 class. It is already, yeah, I know. It is already sold out. So excited. So, Liz, yes, you are right. Usually I do alliteration. Thank you for reminding me of that word, where I use the same letter for my title. But you know what? Today I have a cool topic and I couldn't figure out how to do it how I normally do it with alliteration. Hi, Jean. Hi, Dr. Jean. Hi, Liz. Liz, I get to meet you soon. Hi, Suzette. Yay, cool. All these cool people that I get to hang out with on Friday and Saturday. It's going to be epic. The class is full. Lots of cool practitioners, doctors of chiropractic, naturopaths, massage therapists, all different types of practitioners. This class probably has the most doctors of chiropractic in it than any other class, from all over the US. Let's see, Colorado. Let's see, Maine. Where else? Liz, where are you coming from? So lots of places. I have to look at the roster to see all the different states, but definitely coming from all over the United States, which I totally appreciate. And so if you're coming to class, let me know where you're coming from. And super exciting, like really, really cool. So Liz is coming all the way from Boston, Mass. So that's awesome, Liz. I appreciate you confronting all the travel pieces. Hey, hi, Ethan. So I have to give it a shout out to Ethan. So here's why. So Ethan's awesome. So those of you that are chiros and you need help with business stuff, Ethan is a rock star. And Ethan and I had a meeting probably, I don't know, Ethan, what would you say, like 2 years ago? And he was helping with stuff with Palm Rancher Health. So Suzette's coming from Illinois. Awesome. Driving from Illinois. Awesome, Suzette. And you know what? Suzette, non-practitioners are actually easier to train than my practitioners. Hi, Jessica from Colorado. And so Ethan and I were having a conversation, like I would say like 2 years ago, and he was helping me figure out some stuff at Palm Rancher Health at the practice. And he's like, you should just train other practitioners. I don't know if he remembers that. Yeah, so he says around 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I should put this training together and do this and do the mama bear stuff. And I was just kind of like putting like lofty, what I thought at the time, lofty goals. Like I wanted to do it, but I couldn't seeing patients 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, start to finish, working 40, 50, 60-hour plus weeks. I'm like, yeah, sure, that sounds great, but how am I going to find time? So Ethan helped me put systems in so I could do it. And here we are. The Quantum Nutrition Academy is a real thing, training practitioners. So this will be the 4th level 1 class that's sold out. And level 2 is getting constructed and designed for our October. I've had a couple practitioners behind the scenes like, how many spots are left in level 2? And I'm like, 10. And then it was 9. And then it was 8. So right now, last time I checked, we only have 7 spots available left in level 2. So if you want to join us for level 2, after this class, it's going to be sold out. Like all the spots will be gone. Because typically people have an amazing time in level 1. In fact, I wanted to read you a success story. I have a pile of success stories from level 1, and I wanted to show you the pile, but I took the pile to the office to show. So one of the students mailed me this amazing card, like super shiny. Leah wanted to take it because it's so shiny. And then those of you that are hearing me on Instagram's having some issues today, guys. So I just dropped its broadcast. Oh man, so that stinks. So anyway, so awesome, beautiful card mailed to the office, and we want to get feedback. So those of you that are coming to class this weekend, you get feedback forms because we want to know, like, do you have questions and what do you think? So this is from one of my students, and she says that the question is how would you describe the quantum nutrition testing level 1 class? So she wrote this success story, and she said, I would tell them that I'm tapping into your body's innate intelligence to see your strengths and weaknesses in your body systems and organs. I can even do this testing from far away. And I was like, well, that's the perfect description of what we do. And then I asked her, how have your expectations from this class been met and exceeded? And she said, yes, my expectations were blown out of the water. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And then she said in parentheses, I keep my expectations low as a rule of thumb. That way I'm hardly ever disappointed. The professionalism and friendliness was most impressive. I'm like, wow, that's really nice because we strive for that. And then I said, well, the question is, how will attending Quantum Level 1 live have a positive impact on you and or your business? And she said, I plan to apply quantum nutrition testing into my practice and everyday life. And I'll show you how that goes in a second. I love getting to the root cause of issues clients have and solve the puzzles that are set before me. Quantum nutrition testing will be another tool for me to use to attain these goals. So super cool. And then she finishes it with a testimonial. She said, the Quantum Nutrition Weekend class was phenomenal. My goals were to establish connections with like-minded practitioners and people who are like-minded, start practicing the content, and feature quantum nutrition testing as a specialty in my practice and everyday life. These goals will be achieved by practicing and honing into my new skills and listening to my intuition, intention, and perception. Thank you again for a wonderful quantum nutrition experience. And so there you go. So super cool. Perfect words. I totally agree, Marie. Perfect words. Super awesome. Got another card in the mail on that and have a stack of success stories. So thank you, Ethan, for helping me figure out the pieces so I could do organization in Palm Natural Health to be able to teach quantum nutrition. And I meant quantum nutrition to be a tool to use for humans, right? For humans. Those you know the story, I came up with it when my father was, I almost said jailed. That's what it felt like when he was stuck is another word. When he was, I don't know, help me because these are not perfect words, but he was in the hospital because he had a stroke and he was stuck there because we couldn't visit him. And it was really, I don't even have the appropriate word to describe it. At one point, he was strong enough to stand up because for the beginning points with a stroke, his left side of his body wasn't working well. And so he was having trouble walking. So incarcerated Suzette, yeah, that's a good word. Hi, Alyssa. So he was stuck in the hospital and he was repairing and he was weak. And so at one point he was able to get out of bed and he stood up and we were like, okay, well, we're gonna drive to the side of the hospital that you're on, and we're gonna be on in the like the parking lot in the grass. And so it was like it was heart-wrenching. It was, "Hey, Samantha." It was heart-wrenching. It was horrible. It was like visiting someone in jail. But then I couldn't even really visit him in jail because at least in jail you have the plexiglass, you can put your hand and you can talk through the phone. He was a couple stories up. So here he is looking through his slits in the window because the blinds don't go all the way up. So he's looking through and we could barely see his hand and we were waving at him and we could barely see him and we're on the phone with him, cell phone. And it was awful. It was awesome to see him and awesome that he could get out of bed, but it was awful in that we had no visitation for our family member who had a stroke during COVID. He did not have COVID, but he had a stroke due to stress and having high blood. It was awful. It was like heart wrenching. And then for my daughter to be like, "Hi, Papa, I could kind of see you." And then she had to like stand outside the hospital in the grass, waving at her grandpa in the window is awful. So a lot of you guys know the story on how I figured out how to test them from a distance, and that turned into quantum testing. And we apply that technology for our patients in the office, but also via telehealth, which is so, so cool. Some of you guys have experienced that yourselves. And then and people have been applying to other animals, which is cool. So I want to tell you about some cool cases. And so um, before quantum existed, I actually muscle tested my dog. I actually muscle tested to see. So I wanted to, there's a lot of dogs that don't have homes, right? And so I wanted to get a dog from the local pound, and Puerto Rico at the time had a earthquake, and they had taken a lot of puppies that were homeless, and they shipped them to Miami. So then Miami had too many puppies, so then Miami shipped the puppies to Orlando. And like, you ever have it where like you just feel like it's the time to do something, and it almost feels impulsive, but you've been thinking about it forever. So I had a yellow lab, and his name was Sunny. He lived for almost 16 years because did chiropractic for him. I treated him with chiropractic, and he got whole food nutrition, right? We did nutrition testing on him, and he got whole food nutrition, and he just freaking did awesome, right? And so for a lab to last almost 16 years is unheard of. Maybe their lifespan's 10 years or 12 years or 13 years, but like a 13-year-old lab is considered ancient. An almost 16-year-old lab is considered like unheard of. So anyways, he passed away. I missed him a lot. He was my best doggy friend. And then, you kind of feel like you're ready to get another dog. And those of you that are dog owners or cat owners or pet owners understand this process. And so I'm like, you know what? I feel like we need to go to the local pound like now. And Jason's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm ready to get another dog. What do you think? He's like, well, yeah, if you want to, then let's do that. So you never know what kind of dogs are going to be there. You never know if they're going to be adult dogs or puppies or whatever. And I like to get puppies because I like to train them, and I don't want them to come with any kind of abuse or baggage or weird problems that you don't know about. But there's pros and cons of getting both, right? So we show up. It turns out that 9 puppies were delivered from Miami like the day before in the same litter. They're a mixed breed dog, and there's like fawn brown color ones, black ones, beautiful like a Weimaraner gray ones with blue eyes, tan ones, black and white ones. This puppy litter was the most diverse puppy litter I've ever seen. And so, you have all these puppies, and they're cute, and they're jumping on you. And this one kept untying my shoelace, and the same one kept like biting Leah's socks and biting. She had like this little cute tutu dress on, and it kept biting the tutu. And then there was this little brown one, like a deer colored brown with green eyes. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this one's beautiful. And she was very like gentle. And so I'm like, wow, she's really awesome. But then there's this one that keeps playing with my shoelaces, and he's cool too. So who do I pick? Like, how do you pick a puppy? Do you pick the one by color? Do you pick it by personality? Do you pick it by like you just like that's the one? Like how do you do it? To me, picking a pet is it's a personal thing, but also it's your family. Like I consider pets family. It's when you get to pick a family member. I guess when you get married, you get to pick a family member, but you know what I mean. And so it's not just like, hey, yeah, the animal picks you, right? So I have one that's calm with green eyes. I wanted to call her Jade, and I have one that's like biting my shoelaces and biting my socks and biting Leah's tutu dress and just like going crazy. And I'm like, well, which one do I pick? So I pick up a little girl puppy, and I'm like, Jason, we're gonna nutrition test this puppy. And so we go through the different steps, just like there's steps in quantum. And we go through all the different steps, and she has health issues. So, and probably why she's very quiet, right? So part of me is like, well, if she has health issues, we can most likely handle them. But do I want to get a puppy that I already know is having issues, right? Like, because God forbid you get a puppy and it doesn't really make it, right? That would be horrible and heart wrenching and awful and all of that. So then I have one that's like pulling on my socks, and I'm like, well, what about this one? And I pick him up, and he's like licking my face and biting my nose and chewing on my shirt, and I put him down, and shoelace Grace, that's cute, and going crazy. And I test him, and he tests perfectly. Like he's super healthy, and he's happy, and he's energetic, and he's the most energetic of the litter. And he just like gives me tons of kisses, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the one. So those of you that have heard stories about Rio, that's how we pick Rio, is we nutrition tested Rio, and that's how we end up with Rio. So you can totally use quantum to test the health of an animal. Now, if you're not a veterinarian or you're not a vet tech, and the laws of your state and all that stuff, I'm not saying, hey, you start a business testing animals unless you comply with all of those regulations and stuff. But really cool. And there's nothing, in my opinion, stopping you from testing your own animals, right? So Rio gets quantum tested. He also steals supplements all the time, and he is very, very, very healthy. So then, as I teach more and more students quantum nutrition testing level 1, I'm hearing crazy cases. I am hearing like stuff my mind's blown. I never thought this was happening. So today, we have the quantum level 1 live class, which some of you guys are coming to. Some of you guys have already been to, so thank you guys for coming to Florida. It was a pleasure having you in class. And then some of you guys are coming this weekend, which I'm so excited about. It's going to be like a reunion. But some of you guys have only heard on the phone. So I know your voice, but it's kind of like online dating where I've never met you in person. So I'm like, hey, are you so-and-so? Oh, hi, so it's cool. So please, if you come up to us and we don't know exactly who you are, and oftentimes that'll happen, your name tag will be turned the wrong way. Just tell me who you are so we're not like that awkward moment. So then some of my students, we have the online academy. So we have the Quantum Nutrition Online Academy. And so just tonight, one of my students was telling me she tested. I never had this happen before. She tested for the first time. I've heard quantum being applied to a saltwater fish. Now, those of you that know about saltwater fish, you know that saltwater tanks are temperamental. You know that you have to have the pH level right. You have to have the temperature right. You have to make sure that it's cleaned properly. You have to introduce the saltwater fish in a certain way. Saltwater fish are expensive. I remember the first time. I love saltwater fish, by the way. They're beautiful. So like you think about the aquarium and Finding Nemo, that's a saltwater fish tank, right? Nemo, all the characters in Nemo, like oh my gosh, the zebrafish, the black and yellow one, the yellow tang, all the different fish in the aquarium in the dentist's office in the movie Nemo are all saltwater fish. So, in saltwater fish, if you've been in a saltwater aquarium store, the first time I ever walked into one, I'm like, are you kidding me? $75 for one fish? One fish? One fish? That's crazy, right? Like it seems crazy, right? And then, so I was talking to one of my students, and she's like, "Yeah, I tested my porcupine puffer fish," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? That's so cool!" And what happened was another fish attacked that fish, and he had injuries, and so she was worried that the fish was going to die. So she took a picture of her fish that was not doing well and took the picture to the local saltwater aquarium and asked one of the staff and said, "Hey, what do you think about what's going on with my fish?" And the aquarium guy said, "Your fish is going to die." Like that's how bad her fish looked. So she didn't take die for an answer. She quantum tested her fish, which I haven't even thought with testing fish. Like that's so interesting, right? And she found out that he actually did need an antibiotic. And she found out that the aquarium manager or the aquarium staff had suggested he actually needed to be separated from the rest of the fish. She tested to see how long he needed to be separated, how many drops of the different solutions that he needed, and the fish is doing awesome. And in fact, she says it's doing so awesome, it's like 7 inches long. And if you were to purchase that fish in a saltwater aquarium store, it'd be like $600 fish. I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. So can you imagine if the fish didn't make it, the loss it would have been to the family, because like fish are family too, right? And then the loss financially and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it just blew my mind. Like I have to tell everybody tonight. And that's why the title doesn't really fall. Usually use the same letter. I couldn't make it. I couldn't figure out how to do it. If I sat with it longer, but I was like, I'm so excited. I'm going to talk about the fish and the dog and the pig, which I'll get to the pig in a second. So she quantum tested. So those of you that have already taken level 1, and those of you that are going to take level 1 this weekend, I'm going to teach you how to test humans and non-humans. And that was the first saltwater fish I've ever heard of being tested, and he's doing great. And I'm very, very impressed. That is very cool. So then one of my other students was like, "Oh, Dr. Palmer, you'll never believe what happened." And I'm like, "Well, what happened?" She goes, "Well," and she's so cool. She has chickens, she has pigs. I think she has cows too, if I remember correctly. And she's like, "Well, I noticed my pigs were congested." I'm like, "Okay, I got that." And I don't know about pigs. Like I know basically humans and dogs, right? And so she goes, "Well, I couldn't let my pigs die because, these pigs are for food. And, I don't know how much a pig costs, but like, they're like, there's a lot of, this sounds horrible when I say it like this, but it's true, right? There's a lot of pork and bacon and food there. And I understand because, food comes from there. And which is always interesting because my daughter was like, "Mommy, what if we get a pig, and then when the pig dies, we can make bacon out of him?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Leah!" Like, so she understands where meat comes from, but then she doesn't want to butcher the animal for meat. She'd rather just wait till it dies, which obviously is not a good thing because as an animal ages, the quality of the meat also ages, and especially if the animal is diseased, you don't want to eat the disease. Yeah, so hi, Jonathan. Hi, Robin. So, yeah, Jonathan, you could totally use essential oils on animals, which is so cool. And usually I have essential oils here on my desk, but Leah takes them too. And yes, bacon's amazing. I had for lunch today, I had chicken wrapped in bacon, and I have to admit, it was really, really good. So, her pig had like congestion and actually had, if I remember the story correctly, a cough, and she was concerned that the pig would not make it. And so she's like, "Well, I didn't know what to do." And, the nutrition testing that she had been taught in the past required someone else to help muscle test because pigs can't muscle test, right? So she quantum tested the pig. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I quantum tested the pig and it was an immune challenge. And then I found the exact right supplementation and I gave the pig the supplementation. The pig got better. The pig got better and the pig's still alive and doing well." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this is too cool. This is so exciting. I wish I haven't had a veterinarian in class. I have friends that do nutritional work that are awesome. But I haven't had a veterinarian in class yet for quantum. So I'd love to have, if you know a veterinarian that's more holistic, I would love, love, love to have a veterinarian in class and teach them some tools that would make their life way easier, by the way, like, because sometimes handling cats that are afraid is challenging. Sometimes handling dogs that are afraid is super challenging. Sometimes handling, if you're a large animal vet, handling a horse. I've tested a horse, by the way, not quantumly, using muscle testing. And it was interesting because my staff massage therapist at the time owned the horse. And she's like, "Hey, Dr. Palmer, can you come see my horse?" I'm like, "Cool. I've never tested a horse." So I go to her farm and I test her horse. And I'm a little intimidated by horses because they're huge. And so I'm like, "Well, what's happening?" She says, "Well, my horse runs out of its whatever it's called, out of its stall, and then does circles around the pen and acts like crazy." I'm like, "Huh, okay." So I'm understanding that's not normal horse behavior. And so I test the horse, and it turns out that the horse's thyroid gland was going too fast. And so in the human world, we would call that hyperthyroid. So I'm not diagnosing the horse. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm just testing, muscle testing this horse as a favor to one of my staff at the time. I'm like, "Look, your horse's thyroid is going way too fast." And so in the human world, we call that hyperthyroid. And in what we do, we look for the cause. So I'm like, "So do you want me to look for the cause?" She goes, "Yeah, absolutely." And it turned out to be linked to what the horse's feed was. So horses can get like a pellet feed, like in addition to their hay, they can have another feed source. So the horse did not like his feed. He didn't like what he was eating, and actually one of the ingredients in it, which I don't remember now, one of the ingredients in his feed, because then you can test the label. So I can teach you guys that in level 1 if you haven't learned it yet. You can quantum test the level or the label, and the horse didn't like something in it. So then she had a different type of horse feed. So I tested that, and that tested well. And then the horse needed a little bit of a supplementation to get that thyroid doing well. And she said the horse did fine. It didn't like fly out of the stall and run around the pen in circles, and it did super, super cool. So, quantum nutrition testing is amazing for humans, super cool for dogs, cats, saltwater fish. One of my students a couple weeks ago, her cat was having issues. So she quantum tested her cat, and she found out, oh, Liz did it. She found out that the cat was having issues with mold. So then she quantum tested further, and she found out it was the cat litter. Then she quantum tested further. So cool. She quantum tested further and found out that it was the litter box. She quantum tested further and found it was the litter box in the basement. And then she quantum tested further and found out that all they had to do was like clean out that litter box in the basement, and the cat would be fine. So super, super cool. So Liz did it. So Liz did it on pups. Oh, you know what? You're so right. So Liz did it how I normally do it, with the same letter. She did QNT: pups, pigs, porcupine, fish. Yeah, good job. And put all the cool. See, Liz, I should just have you do my titles. You did so good. Well done. Awesome. So you guys can ask me questions on quantum. You can ask me questions on the course. You can ask me questions on the academy. You can ask me whatever you want. So I'll hang out with you for a little bit, and then I'm out. So Yolanda is one of the students. She did so cool. She said quantum is a game changer. So Dr. Yolanda is so cool that she works on horses and she rescues horses. So she was telling me about her farm in Maryland, and she rescues horses and she takes care of these huge animals. And I totally have respect for people that live their life's passion, and she's clearly doing that. And I totally have respect for people that have skills that I don't. So like horses, I'm like, I don't know how often you wash a horse, or how often you feed a horse, or how often you do their cut their nails, or I didn't grow up around horses. I really don't. My horse knowledge is lacking. And so she was my student a couple weeks ago. And so she says quantum is a game changer with handling our horses' health. That's amazing. So Yolanda, drop me a line and tell me like how you're applying quantum to the horses, because that is so, so cool. Candy says amazing. Robin says, can you quantum on pots and pans? So can you quantum test pots and pans? Well, probably not your case, Robin, but there are people who are using pots and pans that contain really harmful chemicals. Teflon is not a good coating. Nonstick coating on pans is not healthy for you. And so when you use nonstick pans, you are actually absorbing chemicals which are horrible. Typically, chemicals will negatively affect the thyroid gland. They'll negatively affect other glands. They can get stored toxins. If you listen to our practitioner panel yesterday on the Palmer Natural Health Facebook page, toxins can get stored in fat tissue. So there's some people that they're working on a lot, they can't lose weight, and it's because their fat's toxic. And I did have a case where the person was getting iron toxic. So there is such thing as too many good minerals. And so she was using a cast iron pan. And when you use cast iron, you absorb cast iron. And so she was getting toxic levels of iron. And we traced it to her pan. So yeah, you absolutely can. There you go. Alyssa says add pans. Yeah. So we could do pups, pigs, porcupine, fish with a P, and pans. So there you go. So, what pans do I use? I like stainless steel pans. Whenever I can use Pyrex glass, I use glass because my understanding is glass is silica, and there is no contaminants leaching from glass. But you do have to be aware that some drinking glasses can have lead in them. So just be aware of that. So Mrs. Potts with Nemo. Oh yeah, there you go. So, so be aware that, you can quantum test anything. Some of you guys know my story of when we went to Puerto Rico, we quantum tested the security line. So you can quantum test that. And basically what you're doing is, those of you that have studied with me, that we're all connected through 6 degrees of separation. You guys have heard that term. And everything has frequencies. So Dr. Royal Rife studied frequencies and found out that organs have frequencies and tissues have frequencies. Parasites, bacteria, food, cell phones, computers, tell everything has frequency. And so, if you can identify the frequency of the organ and see where it is through certain technology, and you can match the frequency of the supplement with the organ, which we can do with quantum testing, we can use the muscle as an indicator, then we can figure out why that organ is not functioning optimally. We don't treat or cure the organ, but we can balance out the organ with whole food nutrition, herbs, and homeopathy. So it's super super cool. And then those of you that are into essential oils, then you can see, because there's so many cool essential oils. I love essential oils, and you can see, okay, well, I think my son might need this one or this one. Which one should I use, or should I use all of them? You can quantum test that. Um, I have patients that bring me like big uh, cabinet drawers filled with supplements. They're like, okay, I'm taking all of these. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're taking so many supplements, and very well done for trying to figure out what you need. But, you don't need this whole drawer of stuff, right? So we save people money. And then, with quantum testing, we can identify what areas of the body are working well, like just like my student said, and what areas of the body are not working well, and not just say, hey, Mrs. Jones, you know what, your heart is not so good. Then we look at what is the cause, so why is that organ having issues? Maybe they have mold in their house. Maybe they got exposed to parasite and that's causing issues in the body. Maybe, who knows? There could be many causes. So we look at that. Is it chemicals? Is it metals? Is it bugs? Is it stress? Is it radiation? Is it something else? So we dig for the cause, because if you can find the cause, then you can help the person. If you can find the solution to help the cause, then you can help the person. And then if you do some other checks to make sure that that those supplements are right for them, then you can rebalance the person's physiology. You can repurpose. Don't repurpose the body. That would be weird. You can and I'm a little tired, guys, today. We are still short staffed. So if you are in Central Florida and you would like to work with us from an administrative standpoint, I know a lot of you guys would like to work with us from a practitioner standpoint, but if you like to work with us from a managerial or administrative standpoint, please reach out. Or if you have a friend that like loves holistic healthcare, they're your crunchy granola friend and they're in a job that they hate, please send them my way, right? Have them stop by the office, introduce themselves, because we need help. We are short staffed. So, so you look at the physiology through quantum nutrition testing, and you help to rebalance the body naturally. If you're acupuncturist, it's beautiful with acupuncture. If you are a chiropractor, it is a beautiful marriage with chiropractic. If you are a massage therapist, it works beautiful with massage. You can apply quantum to massage too, and that's a whole other thing we can teach you. If you are someone who does essential oils, it works beautiful with essential oils. It's just so many beautiful like team marriages, team applications, team, um, um, I don't know, working together that could be applied. All right. So I got a couple questions. Let's see. Amy is saying, is there a quantum or muscle testing course online just for knowledge, understanding, not to be certified? Yeah. So you could totally, I'm working on an intro course for people that are like, hey, this sounds cool. I want to learn more. And it wouldn't be the full level 1 course. So it is on my very long list of things to do. But yes, there is an introductory course coming soon that's meant for whoever wants to learn more. But it's not ready yet because I have to design it. I have to put it together. So yes, that is on the list of courses to make. Justine, I am sure there are tons of products that we use that are toxic you could teach us about other than food. Yeah. So you are absolutely right. One place that you could start is the EWG.org. The EWG.org is environmental working group, and they rank personal care products like shampoo, conditioners, soap, They rank makeup. They rank your municipal water, like so the water in your county. And so we just found out our county's water has been flagged for radium. Radium is a radioactive metal. So we kept finding a lot of patients coming in with radiation. I'm like, are they spending a lot of time on their cell phones or on their laptops, or is 5G bothering them, or what's happening? And then I was doing research for somebody else this weekend, and I realized, oh my gosh, when I searched Seminole County, which is the county that my office is in, I realized there's radium in this county. Oh my goodness. So you could go to ewg.org and look under tap water, put in your zip code, and it will tell you the chemicals and metals and radioactive metals that are in your water supply. So that's crazy. That's great. I mean, it's not great. It's great information. It's not great that that exists. So yeah, so basically if it has, so one easy way of thinking about this is if there's big long words, if you get the label and you're like, I don't even know what these words mean, those are chemicals that you don't want in your body. If you go to eat a food and the label's like this big and it has big long words and you don't know what they mean, you don't want that food. And then as far as like cleaning your house, there's so many toxic chemicals. I actually just fired a cleaning service because they put bleach in my bathrooms when they're supposed to be a chemical free company, and I was shocked. I'm like, you guys advertise that you clean with essential oils and you're chemical free, but yet all of my bathrooms smell like bleach. Like, how I fired them. I'm like, I don't understand. And bleach is chlorine, and bleach is like, bleach is super bad for your thyroid. So, I know that some of you guys are like, oh, but you got to use bleach, Dr. Palmer, if you want to get that toilet really, really clean. And I understand, right? I get where you're coming from. And I understand. And there is sanitation of that toilet, especially if something really gross happened. Like if there was like we'll just call it a blowout, right? If a blowout happened and the bathroom is disgusting, then I totally understand using a stronger product from time to time. But remember, urine is sterile. So as long as the bathroom is being cleaned with soap and water, and there's nothing crazy that happened where someone got super sick and made a mess, then soap and water is totally fine. So the fact that they used a chemical, which they're not supposed to use, there was no big messes, it was just normal use, nothing insane, right? Like some of the bathrooms we don't even really use, they're for guests, right? And there was bleach. When I came home, there was bleach in the bowl and they didn't bother to at least flush it. I that's not okay. So bleach off gases, use chlorine gas, and it's not healthy, and it's not good to be around. So one of the patients we had that was super super sick would bleach their bathroom every week and bleach the toilet and use their bare hands, no gloves, use their bare hands and a sponge soaked in bleach to clean the bathroom. They're like, well, Dr. Palmer, if you don't use bleach, it's not clean. And I'm like, I hear you, but soap and water cleans. And when you touch that sponge filled with bleach, you're absorbing the bleach into your body. That's crazy. Jessica's asking about cleaning with white vinegar. Yeah, white vinegar. If you look at the chemistry name of white vinegar, it's acetic acid. Acids clean. That's why white vinegar is a great cleaner. And then if you take your white vinegar and you put it in a jar and you put like a cinnamon stick in it, it'll smell like cinnamon instead of vinegar, because who wants to have their whole house smell like vinegar? Yeah, so these toxic chemicals are awful. I'm finding that in the beginning, when all this craziness was happening, that hotels like stopped cleaning rooms, and I actually want my room clean after somebody else, but I don't want the cleaning staff in my room every day spraying deodorizer and stuff. And so recently I was at a seminar, and usually what I'll do is I'll put the privacy hanger on the doorknob, because I don't want them in the room spraying deodorizer and bleach and all this stuff. Like like I don't clean my house. I mean, I keep my house tidy and I do clean, but I am not scrubbing the counters, and I'm not fully head to ceiling to floor vacuuming and cleaning and scrubbing everything every single day. Like that to me is excessive. Some of you guys do that, and if that's how you like to roll, then that's totally fine. So I don't need my hotel room scrubbed every single day, and I don't need deodorizer and bleach in the sink and in the toilet and the shower every single day because you get exposed to those chemicals. And I definitely don't want my child to get exposed to those chemicals. So I was super busy this past weekend and I forgot to put the privacy hanger on the door. And so I came back in the room after the seminar, and the cleaning staff was there. So the bed looked amazing. Like it's something about a hotel staff that makes I try to fold sheets. I don't know about you guys, but I am horrible at folding fitted sheets. I just kind of looks like a roll of like a ball of sheets when I'm done. Some of you guys are amazing at folding it. Leah tries to help me, and it just turns into like this ball of sheets. But hotel staff are amazing at making that bed look like showroom quality, perfect sheets, perfect bedspread, pillows fluffed. We always bring like another blanket because hotel rooms can be really, really cold, even if you adjust thermostats. They fold our extra blanket, and it's just awesome, right? So, so I forgot to put the do not clean our room. And so we came back from the seminar and the whole room stunk like deodorizer. And I started to burn my throat, and Leah woke up coughing, and it just was not pleasant because of the chemicals. So luckily we could take things like this, like biotoxin binder, and biotoxin binder will help you when you're exposed to chemicals, or you're painting your house, or you got new carpet, or you got a new car. That new car smell, Jessica, is chemicals. Okay, cool. All right, so another question. You didn't wash your groceries during Rona? Did I not wash my groceries? No, I didn't wash my box food or canned food or frozen food, or I washed my vegetables from the pesticides, but no, I didn't wash all. That's crazy. I didn't do that. No. Let's see, Robin, a couple more questions, then I got to go. Those chemicals are gross at hotels. I always travel with my diffuser. Yeah, Robin, you know what? I heard your voice. And I was like, you know what? Robin's right. I should have brought my diffuser with me to this hotel. And then I totally should have diffused thieves. I did have, I think I had lavender with me. Um, Robin makes these really cool lavender sprays. So I had that with me, and I had peppermint with me, but I didn't have thieves. So I definitely have to put thieves in my hotel bag. And I definitely need to bring a diffuser, but like you start to pack. So we have a trip coming up out of state, and you start to pack and you're like, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff. And half my luggage is like supplements. All right. Jessica says, oh, I have to do a shout out in a second. Jessica says, I like that the new car smell. I like the new car smell. Yeah. Jessica says it freaks me out that they never clean the comforters. So hotels a lot of times have duvets, and in my brain, I like to think that they clean the duvets every single guest. So in my brain, I'm going to pretend I actually have a patient who works for Hilton's, and she's the manager of the cleaning staff for one of the Hilton hotels in Orlando. I'm going to ask her because I'm going to pretend, Jessica, that they always clean they always clean the bedspreads, the comforters. Okay. So Brian is so cool. This is Brian's farm, Brian and Carol's farm in Iowa. I'm representing you, Brian, because you're super awesome. And I appreciate you as a farmer, and I appreciate all the farmers that like you guys like work super hard. You're up at the crack of dawn, and you're tending to all the fields throughout the day, and it's hot, and sometimes it's raining on you, and the conditions aren't not right. And like, let me tell you, I have a little garden, and I'm fighting, like you told me, that some insect was pooping on my arugula, and then some stupid caterpillar ate my Crenshaw melons. And then let me tell you, my okra are happy though. My okra are like, I'm not even kidding, they're probably 6 foot, some of them are probably 7 foot tall okra, and they're just going. I love fresh okra; so good for your digestive tract. And then my tomatoes are coming around, little tiny cherry tomatoes. They're growing. None of them are ripe yet, but they're coming around. So here you go, Brian. Here's your shout out for your farm. Well done in Iowa. Well done. All right. So, can biotoxin binder work on its own? Yeah, absolutely. So biotoxin binder has carbon technology that will bind chemicals and bind metals So yes, it can work on its own. It's good to have. Let me see what else I have on my desk to show you. It's good to have like a ViRadChem binder. So Vi is viruses, Rad is radiation, Chem is chemicals, also handle metals. And it's good to have HMET binder, which is HM is heavy metals, ET is environmental toxins. So it's good to see if you can combine it. But biotoxin binder, you have an athlete like a lacrosse player or a soccer player or whatever, and a football player, they're on the field, biotoxin binder will absorb some of the glyphosate. If you're a farmer and you're spraying, Roundup on your crops or pesticides or herbicides or whatever, biotoxin binder, if all the farmers did some biotoxin binder, there'd be less cancer in farmers. Let's see. Don't bring a back. No, I'm not bringing a black light to the hotel, Jessica. I don't want to know. Hi, Carol. Heather Ryan says, it's crazy now that I've eliminated chemicals from my life. They impact me so much more. Now I can smell other people's laundry soap, perfume from a mile away. Even hairspray makes me sneeze. It's like my body realizes they're toxic now. So yeah, a lot of people will say that they're more sensitive. And I don't love that word because it makes it sound like you're like a wuss, and you're not. Your body's actually working really, really well now, Heather. And so the example I like to use is if you give a homeless person that has an alcohol problem a beer, what's another beer? They've been maybe drinking all day long and they're shooting whiskey or they're doing whatever they're doing, right? But if you give someone who doesn't drink alcohol a beer, they're going to feel the effects of that alcohol faster because their liver is clean and processing properly. And so some people brag, they're like, well, I ate the rotten tuna and I didn't get sick for 3 days. Well, that's not something to brag about. That is awful. What it means is that you had bacteria festering in your body for 3 days. What should have happened is you go to eat the rotten tuna and your nose is so clear and your physiology is working so well that you're like, you don't even eat the rotten tuna. And then God forbid you do eat the rotten tuna, it comes out right away. So some people are like, oh my gosh, I ate that, they threw up right away. Yeah, that's what you want to have happen. Or they have diarrhea right away. Yeah, you want your body working optimally so poisons and rotten food don't sit in your system and fester and cause more issues. Samantha Press says, I wanted to know what are the best supplements to test when nails show up. So nails, like fingernails, if there are ridges, if there is pitting, like little holes in the nail, if the nail is black, you're going to first test why that's occurring. So there's a cause. It could be trauma. So like a soccer athlete could get stepped on by a cleat, or a lacrosse athlete or football or baseball or whatever. So it could be trauma. If the nails are very weak, it could come from the parathyroid glands that are located on the wings of the thyroid gland. There's 4 parathyroid glands that are responsible for bone. It could be something linked to the pituitary gland. So level 2, I'm going to teach you to test deeper. But yeah, you want to find the cause, and then really good nail support would be a product from Standard Process called Forto B12. So it's really good for healthy hair, healthy nails, healthy skin, collagen products too. So Systemic Formulas has some collagen products. Your local health food store has some collagen products as well. So that is also good for nails. All right. Beth says, same. My daughter says, I'm crazy, but those chemical smells make me sick. Yeah, because you're not supposed to be okay with chemicals. God forbid there's a chemical spill. You're supposed to be able to smell the bad chemical and then get out of that area. That's how you're supposed to function. Or God forbid, like a fire. Like if your senses are not functioning properly, you may not smell something burning, right? But if your senses are working properly, you're going to smell something burning and get out of there and handle the fire. Rhonda says, my relative worked for hotels in a few different states. She said, unless they are wet. Ugh. Or they notice the duvet is soiled. They only get washed once every 2 weeks. What? Yuck, Rhonda, yuck. So I'm not a germaphobe, but people are gross. Like people do gross things. Like I have seen gross things that my patients do in my office. And so I can only imagine what people do at hotels. So to know that they do not clean The duvet makes me really grossed out and makes me want to be one of those people that brings sheets with me when I travel. But then you have to think about what happens on the mattresses too, and then you just and then Jessica's talking about the black light, and yeah, yuck, yeah, that's my answer, yuck. It's a great example of the analogy. I can't take my dog to the doggy daycare anymore. She's too sensitive to cleaning products. We don't use those types of products. Yeah, Beth. So poor doggies. Unfortunately, there's a lot of doggies that are having really, really bad effects from flea topical medication. They're having seizures. They're passing away. Why? Because it's toxic chemicals to kill fleas, but also the dog absorbs it too. Um, Doggies will react to pesticides in the lawn, and they'll bite their paws or lick their in between their toes, like, and that noise at night. I don't know why they do it at night. Probably because it itches and hurts them. That's a awful noise. And so when I had my yellow lab and I lived in an apartment, the apartment sprayed for bugs and the apartment sprayed the grass. And so he was always licking his paws. My dog now, we don't spray, so he doesn't have paw problems, which is awesome. But yeah, the doggy daycare or boarding facilities tend to use nasty chemicals. So there you go, Beth. There's a business idea. You could be like a holistic boarding facility. You're welcome, Samantha. Yeah, got it. Yeah, I know. I don't want to hear about the duvets, but now we know, Rhonda, it's all your fault. But thank you for telling us. And yeah, maybe you could request like a new duvet when you arrive. I don't know. What also, you guys have to let me know before I go. Does it freak you out? Um, the the so they always have like the extra blankets in the closet. Does that like freak you out? When I see the extra blanket in the closet, it always looks like it's been there for a long, long time, and I have no desire to use it. So you guys have to let me know. Is that what you think about the extra blanket in the closet? Because that's how I feel. And then the couch bed to me also just thinks it just seems gross. So you guys can let me know. Do you use the extra hotel blanket or do you not? And yeah, now thanks. Yeah, so this is like I'm not gonna touch those. Yeah, I totally agree. We bring extra blankets for that purpose. But now, thanks, Rhonda. Now I might have to travel with some sheets. I know people that bring. I know flight attendants that bring sleeping bags, so they don't get into the bed. They have a sleeping bag on top of the bed, and then yeah, I don't like to walk barefoot. I like to wear socks, but then your socks get gross. So then I don't want to put those socks in my bed. So I take them off. But then, of course, you have to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. And then you're walking across the gross carpet, anyways. So Jessica says the floor and duvet are hot lava. That's awesome. You guys are so cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. Hopefully, you had fun learning about quantum nutrition testing for dogs, fishies, and piggies. I'm Dr. Lisa Palmer. I hope you and your furry loved ones are doing well and your family are doing well and healthy. If I can be of any help, reach out. I'm Dr. Lisa Palmer, Dr. Mama Bear. Have a good night. Bye. Can't wait to meet you, Suzette. Can't wait to meet you, Liz. Wait to meet you guys. Take care. Bye bye.